Which do you think is the craziest family in India at the present time? Interested in this question? If you are, let's look for an answer. So, what's the question? Which is the craziest family in India at the present time? To arrive at an answer, a fair and factual answer to this curious question, we have to be factual. We have to examine the data. So please bear with me when I present to you some very elementary, basic data merely from my memory, which is not all that good, but it's good enough. You think of a family in which a lady, say your grandmother, for example, has a very clear threat to her life. And her security advises her not to take risks with her life and to make sure that her personal security stuff is sanitized. And that all possible elements of risk are clinically excluded from the people near her. And she says, no, I'll have nothing to do with what you're saying. I want to treat all people alike. I cannot see people with jaundiced eyes. And even if that's going to cost me my life, I will not discriminate between people on the basis of their religion or their regional identity or whatever. And within a few days, she falls to the bullets of two assassins. Just keep that at the back of your mind. Now think of having a man in the house, say your father, whose life is under serious threat, who had already been attacked in another country, and in spite of very clear intelligence information that he was in serious danger and therefore he needed to be protected in an extraordinary fashion, and that he needed therefore to keep a distance from the people, avoid mobs, etc. He does not heed your advice. He goes about and he gets killed by a human bomb. And then you happen to be that man's wife. The investigation happens. The culprits are identified. The court condemns the accused to capital punishment. You intervene on their behalf and ensure that they are not executed. As if that's not enough, think of being a daughter to such a man, the victim, who goes all the way to the prison to visit one of the assassins. Now, if you have a family like this, a family of an elderly woman who goes against advice, sane advice, well-meaning advice, and falls to the bullets of assassins, family of a man who, against saner advice, mixes and mingles with the people and gets killed, a family of a wife who readily forgives the assassins of her husband and pleads for her life with the President of India, a family in which there is a young lady, barely 20 years of age, or 20 years of age, who goes all the way to visit one of the assassins of her father, whom she dearly loved, in the prison, just to communicate that she has forgiven, that her pain is real, but that she has the spiritual freedom to forgive what she has done, what the assassin has done. If you have a family like this, would you consider this family normal, or would you consider this family wonky, balmy? That's the question. All right, now let's examine. We all know how Srimati Indira Gandhi died. Her life was at risk in the wake of the Blue Star operation, which cleansed the Golden Temple. I have no opinion on whether or not that was a wise thing to have been done. That's a political issue. I'm not directly concerned about it at this point in time. After that, there was very clear and clinging intelligence, information or evidence that her life was in serious danger, and she was advised not to have Sikh gentlemen in her personal security guards. She said she would not discriminate between people on the basis of religion or region. She also had this premonition of her death. She knew the nature of the risk she was running, and she stated as much in a public speech just before she got assassinated, and she fell to the bullets. And in 1991, Mrs. Indira Gandhi was killed in 1984. 1991, her son, who on her demise had become the Prime Minister of India, Rajiv Gandhi, because of his rather ill-advised decision to send the Indian peacekeeping force to Sri Lanka, which resulted in the murder of more than 3,000 LTT men and more than 10,000 injured, had incurred the wrath of that extremist organization, and everybody knew that his life was in danger. Actually, when he was on a state visit to Sri Lanka, one of the military men who offered guard of honor to Rajiv Gandhi attacked him, and he would have died on the spot, except that fortunately he happened to move his head, and therefore the might of the blow did not fall on his skull. After that, everybody knew that he was in serious risk. Therefore, when the next general elections came into 1991, he was seriously advised not to risk his life by mixing and mingling with the crowd, because he was very vulnerable to extremist attacks. He ignored it. He was a spontaneous man. He loved the people. He hated to have any distance from them. And at a public meeting, election meeting in Sri Perimbadur of Tamil Nadu, very near the capital city, Chennai, a lady by the name Thanu, who was at that time 23 years of age, a Tamil lady, an activist of the LTTE, came and under pretense of paying obeisance to him, bent down to touch his feet, and in the process she triggered the belt which was filled with RDX explosive, and Rajiv Gandhi, together with other 13 members present, including Thanu, were blown to smithereens. Investigations took place, as was but natural. The surviving culprits who were involved in the conspiracy that led to the assassin were identified, put on trial. They were given, many of them were given death sentence, and one of them was a lady by the name, her assumed name was Nalini. She was condemned to death. She went in appeal to the higher courts. The Supreme Court also confirmed her capital punishment, and she was waiting execution in a ladies' prison cell in Vellore. And in 2000, she gave birth to a baby girl. And if my memory serves me right, that girl was named Harita, the green girl, Harita. And this news reached Sonia Gandhi. It moved her to think that if Nalini were to be executed, this newborn baby will be without a father and mother. And she couldn't suffer that thought, so she wrote a moving letter to the then President of India, strongly recommending that her capital punishment be commuted to imprisonment. And the president, after due consideration, acceded to the request of Sonia Gandhi. Do you really think that there are many women in this country who will do this? Do you really? And then come to 2008. Priyanka Gandhi, who was at that time exactly 20 years old. I remember Sonia Gandhi's date of birth because it's quite sort of similar to my wife's date of birth, except for the year of birth. My wife was born on 3rd July 1952 and Priyanka was born 18 July 1982. 1980, yes, 19, let me see, 1988, I think, yes, 1988. Something like that. I'm sorry, I'm getting a little confused. It is certainly 18 July, about that there's no doubt. Now, this 20-year-old girl takes the trouble of going all the way from Delhi to Vellore. Vellore is not very easy to reach. She visits Nalini in her cell. She's very emotional. She has been carrying the pain of losing her dearly loved father so early in life. And yet, the richness of humanity in this little girl made her want to go and tell this woman that she has been forgiven. And she was reconciled to Nalini. Now, this is again something that really challenges me as a person who has a priestly background, who thinks of himself as spiritually inclined. And I ask myself this question: will I be able to behave as Mrs. Indira Gandhi did, or Rajiv Gandhi did, or as Sonia Gandhi did, or as Priyanka Gandhi did? See, the whole family behaves like this. That's the reason why I say there is a crazy family, because this is not how we know families behave. This is not normal. This is abnormal. Maybe it is for this reason that some people take it upon themselves to malign and degrade this entire family. If you were to listen to some people, you would come to the conclusion that the greatest crime you can commit, the most unforgivable offense you can perpetrate, and the most inexcusable insult that you can show to India is to be a member of this family. My experience is, and that's the reason why I'm challenged to share these thoughts with young people. My experience over the last 20-25 years is that whenever I said something good about the members of this family, when every statement I made was absolutely founded on facts, I was vilified, I was attacked, I was ridiculed, for whatever reasons. I have no problems. But what I'm saying is, it troubles me no end that this allergy to whatever is almost angelically good, divinely good in human nature, is spreading far and wide. We are becoming a people who feel upset, troubled, disquieted at the sight of something which is really good, something that shows the light hidden within humanity. Whereas we feel completely at home with whatever is depraved, whatever shows humanity in a poor light, the vulgarity, the boorishness, the crudity, the callousness. Now, this is something that worries me no end. Because if this trend continues, then our public life will become much more of a jungle than it already is. For me, this is not a political issue. This is a moral and spiritual issue. This is a human issue. human beings are supposedly different from animals in the sense that they are capable of higher sentiments, higher values, higher awareness, and they can consciously appreciate the beauty of something moral, something noble, something idealistic. We don't associate animals with virtues, but we expect virtues, ideals, values from human beings. Yet, when we find these very things that we dream of exemplified in the members of a certain family, it has become now a national, near national fashion to deride, to ridicule, to degrade them. Now, there is gross injustice in this. My submission to the young people of India is this: instances like this are very, very rare in our country. Whereas, if India is truly great, and I believe that India is great, India is potentially very great, if India is to be truly great, the most fundamental thing we need to do is to identify these remnants of human greatness and make them the norm, recommend this to the country at large. This is how Indians should be. This is what it means to be patriotic. This is what it means to be a proud Indian. Indians who can bear witness to the greatness and the beauty of being human. Indians who believe in the greatness of the species to which they belong. Now, whenever I think of Mrs. Indira Gandhi, the courage with which she decided not to flush out Sikhs from her personal bodyguards, I think of my fellow Christians. Let me give you an example. Don't think that I'm complaining, but it's important to have some terms of reference to think factually and objectively. A few years ago, I was in Kottayam, a city in the middle of Kerala, the state. I was sitting in the consulting room of a physician. I was taken there by a friend of mine, a resident of the city of Kottayam. We were chatting. Then one of the patients, a client of this doctor, came there. And that person happened to see me sitting there. And immediately that person scooted off. I was aware of it, but I didn't pretend that I knew this. I kept quiet. The doctor also kept quiet. A few days later, I got a call from the doctor. He said, when you came to visit me and we were sitting and chatting, perhaps you are aware that somebody came to see me, and immediately that person, noticing you, fled for his life. I said, yes, I was dimly, vaguely aware of it, and it didn't concern me. So if somebody was coming to see you, that person wanted to go, how does that matter to me? And he said, no, it concerns you, he said. So then he volunteered the information. He said that patient again came to see him, and he asked him why he fled in that fashion, seeing that I was in the room with him. So that person said, our bishop has told us that this man is the enemy of Christianity, that this old man is a mighty enemy of Christianity. Therefore, believers should not take any risk in coming anywhere near. That is the courage of Christians. That is why instances like Mrs. Indira Gandhi, who incurred deliberately risks to her life in order to affirm a principle, speaks to me eloquently about the greatness of being human. It's something that I very rarely see in my community. That's why I'm always appreciative of it. And I have faced situations that are not exactly comparable, but where I too had to face real physical danger. I will not bore you with the details of those episodes. And on each of those occasions, two examples challenged me and gave me courage and strength. One obviously was that of Jesus Christ, who faced certain death without wincing, without flinching, in fulfillment of the life mission that he came to accomplish. Tremendous courage at the age of 33. It's a source of unfailing inspiration to me. The second, by the way, is that of Mrs. Indira Gandhi. I was an ardent critic of Mrs. Indira Gandhi's on account of the emergency that she imposed on India, which I even now believe was absolute disaster. It was tantamount to the Congress party committing harakiri. So much so, when in 1981, when St. Stephen's College was celebrating its 100 years of service to the nation, Mrs. Gandhi was the chief guest. I was the lone member of the faculty who boycotted the photo session with Mrs. Indira Gandhi. So it's not as though I am a blind admirer of the lady, but in this one respect, hats off to her. So whenever I face, real dangerous situations wherein I could have lost my life, one of which was the visit to Gujarat when the Gujarat riots were in progress. The group of people had travelled from Godhra to Sabarmati Ashram and twice faced real threats to our life when we were encircled by the enraged people, and fortunately the army intervened in time and saved our life. But there were other instances as well, especially during my tenure as principal of the college. I've always thought of this episode in the life of Mrs. Gandhi, and also remembered the example that her son, Rajiv Gandhi, has left for us. So, whether you like it or not, this is no ordinary family. This is no ordinary, but somehow, because of the power of propaganda, millions of people in this country have been persuaded to believe that the worst that can happen to a human being is to belong to this family. It's called the dynastic principle. Therefore, I need to say something about the dynastic principle and all that I'll close. Friends, if you really think of what dynastic principle entails or involves, it only means that you are gaining certain advantages without any reference to your personal merit. That's a quintessential dynastic principle. But dynastic principle should not be interpreted to mean that irrespective of your personal merit, simply because you belong to a family, you shall be disqualified from everything. That's not dynastic principle. That is dynastic vilification. So in this country, unfortunately, for political reasons, the distinction between dynastic identity and dynastic vilification has been ironed out, eliminated. So ipso facto, by the very fact that you belong to a family, you are damned and doomed. Now, let's take the case of Rahul Gandhi. He is supposed to be the greatest beneficiary of the dynastic largesse. Is that really so? Has not this young man proved his mettle? Has he not won general elections? Is it a small thing to win a general election? Oh, then again you will say that's because he belongs to a family. Well, if you know how the dynastic principle works, look at the present cabinet of Sri Narendra Modi. 22 out of the 72 odd ministers in his cabinet are beneficiaries of the dynastic generosity. 22. But that's all right. But I don't consider that to be dynastic because they have proved their mettle, they have fought the battle, the people have elected them, have no business to slap the dynastic label to their discredit on them. So, on the political plane, think what you will, but on the moral and spiritual plane, I tell you, that is astonishing for me that there is a family like this. And therefore, I am not surprised that this young man, Rahul Gandhi, without making such a big show about it, hoo-ha about it, is trying in his own humble way to walk after the footprints of the Mahatma, the father of the nation. And I wish him all the best in this process. So, I've introduced the craziest family to you. I hope and pray that we would have a few more families like this. What will serve the cause of India best is not the elimination of such a family, but the replication of families like this. May there be many more Priyanka Gandhis, many more Rahul Gandhis, many more Sonia Gandhis, many more Rajiv Gandhis, and certainly many more Indira Gandhis. But Indira Gandhi, I say again, minus the emergency. So, there we are. Now, let me conclude by asking you the last question. Do we now dare to say that the good found anywhere in the world, whether it is in this family or any other family, this party or that party, BJP or Congress, this region or that region, this country or that country, we shall remain free to accept, endorse and strengthen whatever is good. Likewise, we shall give no encouragement, no endorsement, no quarter to the forces of evil, the forces that malign and degrade all that we love and cherish in this world and the life that we so dearly cherish. Thank you and have a great day.